know the shock. It's so funny. I'm Cecilia and I'm Irish. I live in the southeast of Ireland, and I'll just reiterate what everybody else has said. And thank you, Jon. I can't believe you've asked me. Whew. I actually did a Zoom thing with my workplace today, and I talked about mindfulness. And I think you'll be very proud, Jon. I gave the 7 characteristics of doing and being. And yeah, it was really, really well received. But I have to take a deep breath. And what I just want to ask you is, so I have trained as a mindfulness teacher. I have a strong practice. I've been here for the last 9 weeks, and lots of people have come in and they've spoken about what this has meant to them. And what you just said earlier is about, is this personal? And that will determine how much you will suffer or how much you feel not at ease. And I guess my question for you is to ask you, for somebody who has a really strong practice, I'm quite disciplined, I read a lot, I listen to a lot, and yet in an instant I can be pulled off center, and I can get really caught in what it is that's caused me the difficulty. It might be somebody that might have sent an email that I interpret wrong. So I've quite a lot of self-awareness, but I somehow I'm again and again encountering that problem of just being pulled off center. And I'm wondering, do you have anything to say to somebody who is a good worker, who reads and listens to what you're saying and then just seems to fall off quite often? Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're telling yourself a beautiful story that's too small. That, whether it's that you're a serious meditator, a good meditator, or you read a lot, or all of that. And why is it that your mind, is still so unruly so much of the time? And the subtext of that, again, we're not really in, we don't have a lot of time to unpack this, but, is that there's something wrong. But there's nothing wrong with what you just reported. That's just the way it is. And if you're making meditation into some kind of ideal where being a good student of meditation and doing everything you're supposed to do, and still your mind is unruly like that, what's wrong with this picture? There's nothing wrong with this picture. Welcome to the club of humanity. Okay. And if anything, it's like, you say you've been practicing, did you say for something like 3 years or?
No, 10 years.
10 years. So 10 years is like, just 10 years. I mean, it's like, there's no beginning, there's no middle, and there's no end to this practice, but it is a lifetime's work or play and a love affair with the nature of reality, really. So that's the curriculum. You're learning about the nature of reality. If you want to reify a particular kind of schema around mindfulness, that you should be a certain way and no longer have these kinds of problems that pull your mind one way or another. Well, that's just the kind of narratives that I've been suggesting are in some sense very self-defeating. But as soon as you recognize them, it's like touching a soap bubble. It just goes poof. So it's not like you have to enter therapy and try to root out all your meditative, thought processes, but to just don't take any of it personally. And then, we have this kind of conceit that I'm meditating, right? We're all online, we're all meditating. When you've been practicing for 25, 35, 45, 55 years, there are more and more times when it really feels like the meditation may be doing you more than that you're doing the meditating. Okay, because you've been nurturing, watering the seeds of your own compassion and your own penetrative insight and your own deep awareness. And so then the kinds of things that you're thinking of are problems are actually just the next sort of piece of the curriculum that's being revealed to you to find a way to be in, put the welcome mat out for it and not make a big story about that. So it's endlessly compassionate and at the same time totally I've stumbled on this before. I mean, I'm going to use the word ruthless, but I mean something that has a lot of compassion in it, but it will not give up putting the mirror right in front of your face around the very issues that you or me or anybody else are clinging to. Because the clinging and the self-identification with anything, with a story of I, me, and mine, that's where the delusion, that's where the suffering, that's where the kind of storylines arise that generate separation from the actuality of who you or we or any of us are. And that really inhibits our degrees of freedom in terms of how we will act in the world that's facing so much suffering, not just our own personal, but, you know, as per some of the comments that I've been making over the weeks and months, the suffering of the body of the planet, the suffering of the body politic, whether it's Ireland or whether it's the US or whether it's Israel or whether it's, you know, the sort of any place else in the world, Brazil, you know, Latin America, the Arab world. I mean, you know, Iran, China, Korea, everybody's got their own challenges and their own beauty. And how are we going to actually navigate this in a way that is healthy for all of us and for the planet? It's a big agenda. Are you familiar with John O'Donohue's work at all?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
I
so
love John O'Donohue.
yeah, there aren't too many people in Ireland that don't love John O'Donohue. So
No.
it's
And there's also another
completely
poet, John.
independent. I'm sorry?
I'm aware of the time. There's also another poet that I don't know if you're aware of him, Pádraig Ó Tuama. He's another Irish poet. And he writes a lot of work on reconciliation. And yeah, he's a beautiful poet
Wonderful.
and expresses himself very, very well as well. So I'd highly recommend him. I am so grateful for your response. I'm going to get this, Soren, and I will replay it when I find myself back in that little hole, you know, the 5 chapters.
Not a bad
I
idea.
really appreciate it. And one last thing, I have to give a shout out to my really good friend who's in the UK. She's already been referenced before, and it's Vicky in Bournemouth, who's a mindfulness teacher there. And we met in Wales in Bangor University. Thank you so much.